All right, to the latest situation in Ukraine. A Ukrainian military spokesperson says its forces have made progress around the eastern city of Bakhmut, but the US has acknowledged the early stages of Kyiv's counter-offensive has fallen short of expectations and are strongly considering approving the transfer of controversial cluster munitions to Ukraine, as reported by CNN. What's your take on this?
Well, yeah, the counteroffensive has gone slower, and I think we should have expected that. I think that we looked at what the Ukrainians were able to do last year around Kharkiv and Kherson, and they did these lightning-fast counteroffensives, which were extremely successful. This time around, the Ukrainians are going up against very well-prepared Russian defenses. The Russians have had months to get these in place. So there's three defensive lines there that the Ukrainians have to breach, lots of forces. So it is going a lot slower. The Ukrainians are making less progress than we'd hoped, but we should not have got our hopes up too much with this. We just have to stick with the Ukrainians. We have to make sure that they get the weapon systems they need. The cluster munitions issue is a controversial one, but the Russians are using that and worse against the Ukrainians. So I think it's appropriate to level the field. And I'm sure that the Ukrainians will take every opportunity and caution to make sure that those cluster munitions are not directed in any way against civilian targets, unlike the Russians.
Ukraine's intelligence agency also believes the FSB, the Russian Federal Security Services, has been told to assassinate Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin, but no one knows where he is.
Yeah, and it's a mystery. Supposedly he fled to Belarus after the deal was signed, but then his jet turned up in Moscow and then went over to St. Petersburg. So it is a bit of a mystery where Prigozhin is. And just what his status is, where the Wagner forces are in terms of their spread between Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, and just what the future holds. And I think it's really uncertain as to how this shapes up. But I think the one certainty out of all of this is that Putin is a much diminished figure. He's much more vulnerable to coups, not just from Wagner, but from various different other private military corporations and warlords and faction leaders inside Russia. So I think that, you know, the Wagner insurrection the other weekend was the opening act, but the main phase of this drama is yet to get going.
So after the almost coup with Wagner, is Putin beginning to win the PR war within Russia again? Are Russians rallying around him? Because that's some of the news reports that we have seen. Or, as you say, is it becoming terminal for Putin?
Look, I think it's very easier for an authoritarian state to manipulate news reports and present the image that they want to present, and that's called propaganda. I frankly think that for Putin, it is becoming much more difficult to see how he's going to hang on to power in the long term. I think that probably the wolves are circling. He understands that, which is why he started a purge within the Russian military leadership. But it's the Siloviki and the oligarchs, the security and intelligence elite and the elite business people that I think will be looking to see if he becomes too weak, do they put forward another and they get rid of Putin.
Malcolm Davis, a pleasure to chat with you as always. Thank you.
Thank you.